The second half of that passage says, hide me in the shadow of your wings. And that picture was that God wore a prayer shawl. And the picture was that he would, like a mother hen or like an eagle, would protect its young under its wings. And so they visualized God as this great teacher who took his children. And by the way, children or a child or a son, calling someone a son, like Paul calls Timothy a son. That means disciple, follower. Someone who's going to imitate him. Somebody who's going to live out his legacy and continue to do as Paul did. And so God would cover his people in the shadow of this kanaf, or kanafi, of his prayer shawl. Why did they tie these tzitzit? Well, the reason why they tied the tzitzit has to do with the scriptures of God. Literally, they were told to. They were told to in Numbers 15, 37 through 41. They're told that they have to wear these. They have to put these on. And they have to wear them. Why? Because they're reminders. For example, how many times have you been in a restaurant and you're just in a real bad mood and you want to treat somebody like dirt? And you know, you've been around these people. You've been in a restaurant with a person who just is a terrible customer. And you're like, I'm never going out to eat with this guy again. But this was a reminder that when you look down and you saw this, it said to you, I belong to God and I represent God. And so God, knowing that we're something of a visual people, it helps us when we have a reminder. And the tzitzit served as a reminder. 1 Samuel 24, 3 through 5, this is a real interesting passage. David was upset. Why? Because he cut off the corner of Saul's robe. Why was he upset? Because he cut off the tzitzit. So why does that upset him? David caused God's chosen king to break the Torah. And he's now said, who am I to cause God's chosen king to break the Torah? To break the law. So at first it's like, I was close enough to kill you, but I didn't. And then he realized, what have I done? Because these were taken really seriously. Matthew 23, 1 through 5, Jesus criticizes how they wear their tassels. And because no longer, for some of them, no longer was it meant to remind me, but it became a reminder to others. Instead of reminding me, oh, I'm a child of God, it became something that said, oh, I'm an awesome child of God. And look at how we do today with our kids. Sometimes we put these signs that say, these stickers on our cars that say, proud parent, right, of an excellent child, or how is that said exactly?
Honor roll.
Yeah, proud parent of a good kid, or great child, excellent child, or honor roll student. And the thing is that we're supposed to be showing upwards. We're supposed to be showing honor to our parents, right? And so this became a backwards thing, kind of like that. Where instead of showing honor to God and remembering who we belong to, some of them began to use these to say, honor me, because look how great I am.
Yeah.
Now the messianic meaning of the tzitzit is found, let's look at a couple of passages. Zechariah 8:23. This says that God is with you. And we're going to look at that passage real quick. Zechariah 8:23. Zechariah 8:23 says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. In those days, 10 men from all languages and nations will take firm hold of one Jew by the hem of his robe and say, let us go with him. Let us go with you, because we have heard that God is with you. And so what they started to do was they look at these passages, and what they start to see is there's messianic meaning in the day of the Lord, when the Messiah comes. Something about his garment, something about his hem, his prayer shawl, will be blessed, and will give blessings. There will be something about the Messiah's prayer shawl. Okay? So then we look at Malachi 4:2, powerful passage, and we're going to get into this just a little bit more. In Malachi, And Malachi if you're Italian.
Thank you.
Like John. All right. In Malachi, let's look at chapter 4, verse 2. In chapter 4, verse 2, it says, "But for you who revere my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings." And the Son of Righteousness is an idiom that means the Messiah. So when the Messiah comes, they believed, there will be healing in his kanafim, in the wings, in the edges of his prayer shawl. Now what's on the edges? Tzitzit. So they're saying somehow this passage is telling us that when the Messiah comes, there will be healing in his kanafim. You could touch his robe and be healed. That's what they started to believe. So let's look at this from a little, from a couple of other passages. The way we're gonna do that in a minute. We're gonna wrap this into the woman who had the issue of bleeding. But for now, let's look at this just real quick. There was a significance in the numbers. If you get a chance to look at this in a little bit, you'll notice there are 5 knots, and the 5 knots represent the 5 books of Torah: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Okay, so they said they began to believe that the way the rabbis tied these with the 5 knots represented that somehow the Messiah will be a perfect living word, that he will live according to the Torah, that he will keep the Torah. And then, as we go on, let's see, there are the 5 knots, and then there are 8 strings. And when you total that up, it equals, and remember, Hebrew letters were also representative of a number. So when you get the number like 666 or whatever, they could have counted those and said, okay, well that's this letter and this letter and this letter put together, and that spells the name of so-and-so. But here, what they would do is they would say, okay, well these represent numbers. So 8 plus 5 equals 13, and 13 is the numeric value of the word ehad. And ehad is the most important word in the Jewish world. It means God is one. So somehow the Messiah and God as one will have significance. Somehow the Messiah and God will be one. Okay? Let's keep climbing. Well, 13 plus the numerical value of the word tzitzit is 613. Can anybody tell me what you think 613 represents? It represents the exact numerical value of the rabbinic count of laws in the Torah. The rabbinical count is that there are 613 laws or instructions of God in the Torah. So they came to believe that all of that added up to mean that every law will be kept. That the Messiah will have something to do with every law being kept. Now we're going to go look through some really cool passages. Healing in his wings. And Mark 5, 24 through 27. We read about, let's go to that real quick. Mark 5, 24 through 27. We read about, or really through 34, I think it is. Mark 5, 24 through 34. We read about this story about this woman who has an issue of blood. Okay? And so, as she has this issue of blood, she's suffering. Why? Because she's alone. And when we go to Leviticus 15 and verse 25 through 27, we find out there are certain kinds of things that if you have them, you're not allowed to touch anyone. You're considered unclean. And you specifically cannot touch anybody who has anything directly to do with temple worship, with an active service in the temple. So you can't touch a rabbi, you can't touch a priest, you can't touch anybody who's active in the temple. All right? So here's this woman knowing that somehow when the Messiah comes, he will wear a prayer shawl, and he will be a teacher. He will have